Hello, everyone, and welcome to the National Inventor Club. We are in April 2024, and we are streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, and the Inventor Smart Community app, which I'm excited to say that we've had some tremendous growth in the Inventor Smart Community app. You can download it on Google Play and Apple App Store. It is free for everybody. There are obviously premium incentives on there, but you can enjoy all the networking, collaboration, events, book clubs, meditation groups. There are so many things happening, and we have some great new features thanks to our Inventor Smart team that are putting together in the app, such as adding to your calendar, which it might not be a big thing, but it is actually, because a lot of people say, I had it, I was thinking about watching this go live, and poof, I forgot about it. So now you can add it to your calendar. We've had the Inventor Smart Spotlight series, which Samantha and Sean have been active interviewing our premium members in the app. So definitely check it out. Inventor Smart Community on the Google Play and Apple App Store. And for National Inventor Club, we are proud of all the activity that we're doing here. I am going around representing National Inventor Club in all different types of initiatives. And actually, in a little while, Elizabeth Doherty will be on with us, and we'll talk about some of the exciting events that I've gotten to take place with the Eastern region of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office Innovation Outreach. So we will stay tuned for her announcements very shortly. So let's start off, actually, by having Elizabeth Doherty on. Elizabeth, welcome to National Inventor Club. You're a regular on here. I know we have some of your colleagues on, but please introduce yourself and provide us with some U.S. Patent and Trademark Office information. And I know that we have some fun stuff, which I want to get to in a little while.
Certainly. Well, thrilled to be on with you again, Brian. Thrilled to be on with your audience. It is a pleasure every time to be engaged with you in the inventor community at the National Inventor Club. And yes, as Brian has alluded to, he and I have been getting to spend some really great quality time together. Recently, we were in New York City together, where Brian brought together his resources and members for an inventor roundtable in person at the New York Public Library, which is one of our patent and trademark resource centers. And we had the opportunity to connect inventors and the Commissioner for Patents, Vaishali Yudupa, together for a really robust conversation about filing patent applications, engaging with your patent examiner, and how to be successful with the US Patent and Trademark Office. Brian was also just recently at USPTO headquarters, where he participated in the 45th annual training seminar for our Patent and Trademark Resource Center librarians. This remarkable group of librarians and patent professionals engage with people across the nation in our over 80 patent and trademark resource centers. I know Brian has spoken about them a number of times here on the club, talked about the value of having these patent and trademark resource centers, the ability to teach patent searching, trademark searching. And Brian came on in person and virtually with our librarians to really share the perspective of what it is like to be an independent inventor, what it is like to be an advocate for the inventor community, and to share all of the work that he has not only learned, but all of the work that he has shared over the years in helping inventors and entrepreneurs to not only protect their creations, but to also commercialize their creations. So they really got to see a firsthand front row seat as to what it's like to be an inventor. So those were a couple of really exciting recent opportunities that we had to spend time together, which is certainly one of the joys and pleasures of my career is getting to engage with people like Brian on a regular basis. Just to give you a couple of upcoming calendar engagements, Brian was talking about putting things on your calendar. I've got three quick ones. Actually, I'll take that back. Four quick ones for you. While I know you are all located across the nation, these events are all being provided hybrid, so you can join us in person or virtually. The first of which is next Monday. Next Monday, we are hosting a military entrepreneurship summit at our Alexandria, Virginia headquarters. It's designed to bring resources to transitioning military and military spouses who are considering an opportunity in entrepreneurship. Next Wednesday is the next installment of our Women's Entrepreneurship Symposium. It's going to be taking place at George Mason University in Virginia, but again, also being offered hybrid. You can find both of these on our events page of the USPTO. I want to be sure and also call out World IP Day. Now, World IP Day, our day to shine, is actually April 26th, but this year we're going to be celebrating on May 1st with an event on Capitol Hill where we're going to connect educators, innovators, and the community to the role and importance of intellectual property. And last but not least, I've got one more for you, and this is an in person event for any of you who are interested in experiencing the National Mall, and yes, that's the National Mall in Washington, D.C., and you want to connect it with Invention, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the Eastern Regional Outreach Office, is going to be participating in Ag on the Mall. And that's May 6th, 7th, and 8th. Bring your kids, bring your families, bring the farmers in your community because we are going to get to see the role of agriculture technology front and center on the National Mall. The USPTO will be positioned there to talk about, of course, the role and importance of intellectual property in protecting all types of technology, including agricultural.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And just if you don't mind just taking a moment, I am honored and I love this pen that you gave me in New York City. Maybe you could just tell very quickly the history of it because I still can't believe it.
I'd be happy to. And I have to tell you, I'm glad you cherish this pen because it is a very special, unique gift. And it's a gift that my team and I created for special collaborators, special friends, special advocates that we have the pleasure of working with. And it is handcrafted out of the wood of a patent shoe case. Now, for those of you who are thinking to yourself, what is a patent shoe case? Well, the story goes that they were called patent shoes because Thomas Jefferson, as one of the first patent examiners, stored the hard copy patents in shoe boxes. I'm not sure of the truth of that story. However, for decades, the US Patent and Trademark Office, when we were working entirely in paper, kept the paper copy of the patents in wooden and then eventually metal uh, tall bookcase type furniture that had drawers, and the patents were sorted by classification in these drawers. And patent examiners and the public alike would come and search the hard copy patents when doing their prior art searching. Now, because we're really a virtual office, but also we're an entirely electronic office. We're digital these days. We no longer keep and use the patent shoe cases, with small exception. So many of them have come in disrepair. So we've salvaged a little bit of that cherished wood of our history to make these unique pens for unique individuals like you, Brian.
Thank you very much. I love it. Thank you so much, and we will connect again very soon.
I look forward to
Lot
it.
lot of fun events happening at USPTO. So for those of you who haven't visited or don't visit enough, uspto.gov. There's an Inventor Resource Center there. Events. You can sign up for their newsletter. Definitely visit and use them for moving your ideas forward and protecting your ideas. That's for sure. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Brian, and best of luck to your audience and best of luck to your speakers this evening. Lovely to
Thank
see
you
you
so
as
much.
always.
Thank you. All right, let's have Candace. We're lucky to have Kansas Stinnett. She is the VP of Marketing from S-Corp Mentors, and we had Bridget on last month, and as actually a main guest speaker on National Inventor Club last year, and we've been doing quite a bit of collaboration together. Candace, I know that you're active with entrepreneurs, startups, business owners, inventors. There are people that are coming through the S-Corp mentor network. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about it and provide some tips for us to the audience that's listening.
Brian, I'm happy to, and thanks so much for this opportunity. I'm really excited to be here and share a little bit of information about S-Corp and how we can support you. If you're not familiar, S-Corp is a nonprofit resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, and our goal is to help people start, grow, and successfully exit small businesses in the United States. There are a number of ways that we do that, and we provide that support to entrepreneurs. First is through our free mentoring service, which is available for the life of your business. That means that if you have one question or 1,000, we're here to support you. And you can connect with a mentor who has either been successful as an entrepreneur or an inventor themselves, or maybe they're high-ranking executives from Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 companies. But these are people that have deep knowledge about different business topics and are here to share it with you for free. We also offer an ongoing schedule of low to no cost business education webinars and workshops available online and in over 1,500 communities nationwide. So most of the entrepreneurs that we work with, they really know their craft. And for this group, I assume you would know your invention and your creation, but you may not know how to monetize it and commercialize it and turn that into a thriving business idea. That's where we come in. You can join one of our workshops for free and fill any kind of business ownership gaps or knowledge gaps that you might have. And then continue your work with a mentor to get personalized one-on-one advice. So if you have questions, please visit us at score.org.
Thank you so much, Candace. Score.org. I've had the honor of doing national workshops on the live streams that you do. And we have a couple more coming up in July, which I'm excited about. So thank you for all you do. Please say hello to Bridget for us. And by the way, Candace, and for all the for the guest speakers tonight, as well as the audience, if you're not already receiving the emails for this event, you will find what I'm about to say in the Inventor Smart Community app, which is the after meeting networking. So tonight, everybody is invited because we're talking to the audience, but unfortunately they're not talking to us. I mean, we see in the different social media posts, but please, if you can, join us. Our community would love to speak to you, I'm sure, and ask you questions. If you have time, great. If not, no problem. We know where to reach you. Thank you so much, Candace. Okay. Let's have Troy Diaz. He is from the Small Business Administration, the SBA. Troy, we appreciate you joining us tonight. I know that the SBA can be impactful for our businesses, whether we're starting off, whether we're on our way. I know that there's tremendous resources from the Small Business Administration, which many times we have a division of the Small Business Administration, the Small Business Development Center. I'm trying not to give all these acronyms and just say it. It takes a little longer, but it's important that people know what they actually mean. So SBDC are found in your local colleges, most of the time nearby, and they can provide you help. But Troy, you're here to talk to us about the Small Business Administration and provide us some tips if you can help us out tonight.
Sure, happy to do that. And it's an honor to be here with everyone. Brian, thank you for inviting me. My name is Troy Diaz. I'm with the New York District Office of the Small Business Administration. My title is Lead Lender Relations Specialist. I primarily work with lenders to help facilitate what they do in getting capital out there to entrepreneurs. That's a big focus of what we do at the SBA, capital access and supporting small businesses of all sizes throughout the nation. So we focus heavily on that. I have to highlight Candace a little bit, who was on before me at SCORE. In addition to focusing on getting funding out there for entrepreneurs, the SBA is also committed to education and technical support. We have a number of resource partners that we fund throughout the year to provide these services to small businesses. SCORE is one of our resource partners. They're phenomenal. We also have, as Brian mentioned, the small business development centers, which are available as well nationwide, typically housed on college campuses and universities. We have partnerships with them as well. From the perspective of an entrepreneur, well, let me throw it to this audience with Inventors. You folks are really good at what you do, coming up with innovative ideas to make things better or improve upon something. And as Candace mentioned earlier, you may have some needs on the business side. And that's not unique only to Inventors. It may be, the local bakery shop or, local, your local doctor's office, whatever the business may be. Entrepreneurs are usually really good at what they do, and they tend to need a little assistance on the business side. So, the SBA recognizes that, and that's why we support our resource partners such as S-Corp, SBDC, the Women's Business Outreach Centers. We have veteran centers as well. If you're a veteran, and they can talk about a number of programs that might be available to you. I would encourage you to get familiar with SBA.gov, the Small Business Administration website. There you can find direct links to these resource partners, and also there's a treasure trove of online learning. We have online modules that are available to you, and we also host webinars and events throughout the year that you can sign up for on a variety of topics. So when it comes to the business side of things, the SBA is a really good resource for you.
Thank you so much, Troy. And I think we spoke about it, whether it's you or one of your colleagues to join us, where I think we need to have you on as a main guest speaker
Sure.
to go through what it is that the Small Business Administration does, how it can help inventors and entrepreneurs, whether it's from the start with their idea in their head to expanding their business, to finding local resources, grants, different funding, which I know you're a part of. So we appreciate your quick tips and advice this evening, but we hope to hear from you more soon. You can go to sba.gov.
Correct.
Thank you very much, Troy. And you're in the New York office, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Good luck to everyone.
Thank you. All right. Again, just so everybody is aware, we are going to have a after meeting networking event. There is a Zoom link that you received in your email, or you can find the Zoom link in the Inventor Smart Community app. All right, let's have Sean Taylor. She is the Chief Community Officer of the Inventor Smart Community app. She is also the founder of her company, the Open Door Kitchen. Sean, thank you for joining us. And I believe that you want to introduce one of our new Inventor Smart Community Premium Insiders, Karen.
Yes. Hi, Karen. How are you doing?
Good. Hello. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad that you're here with us, and thanks for becoming a premium member with NIC. And I hear you have some good stuff going on. Would you take a minute out to tell us who you are, where you're from, and give us a description of your product, what you're doing, your invention?
Okay, great. So I'm from New Jersey, and I am an inventor of a product called Burn Free. And it is actually a wearable barrier filtration device that helps to prevent urinary tract infections, and it's for women. It's currently with a manufacturer, and we're in the middle of producing samples to show to investors and to try and get urologists and nursing homes and hospitals on board. And then hopefully it'll be on the shelves for consumers to purchase by the end of the summer. And it's very exciting. It's the first of its kind. It's a unique invention, and it's for women. Currently, urinary tract infections are a very serious global women's health issue. So I'm trying to do something to help tackle that problem.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for that. The medical field is going to love you. And thanks for thinking about us,
Thank you.
us women's, and the issues that we have from time to time. So
Men too, but I haven't
Yeah.
been able to invent anything for that yet, but
Oh,
it'll come.
Thank you very much.
thank you so
Sean.
much, Karen.
Sean Taylor and
having me.
Karen, if you want to stay in touch with
Welcome
them,
again.
if you want to stay in touch with them, you can go into the Inventor Smart Community app and start a chat. It's our very own social media in there. We're all chatting, helping each other, networking, having different groups and book clubs and
I
different
see
networking
that.
events. So it's fun. So if you haven't already, definitely join in and be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm learning my way. I'm new. I've only been on for about a week or so, so I'm still learning everything, but it looks amazing.
Great. Well, thank you
Yes,
so much,
it
Karen.
is.
We'll see you inside.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Good
you.
seeing you, Karen. Thanks again.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for what you do, helping
Thanks,
you
Brian.
and Samantha. She couldn't be with us tonight. Shout out to Samantha St. Raymond.
Yeah.
She
Hey,
is our
Sam.
VP of Community. Sean is our Chief Community Officer. You both are amazing. Andy, also shout out to you. I know you're behind the scenes, always watching our backs, so we appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon, Sean.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. I would like to put up John Risby. I have a special announcement. This was just posted on the Inventor Smart Community app. It says new sponsor alert. We're very excited to announce a new sponsorship or partnership that marks the beginning of an exciting chapter for our community. Please join us in welcoming our newest sponsor, John Risby, the patent professor. John is a board certified patent attorney and a distinguished professor of patent law. He's not just a star in the field, he's also a committed ally to the inventor community. With a focus on helping individual inventors and small startups navigate the intricate worlds of patents, John's expertise is a perfect match for our vibrant community. Under his leadership, the patent professor has been recognized by Inc. magazine and listed in the Inc. 5000 as among the fastest growing private companies in the US. The firm, started as an army of one, has grown into a formidable team of intellectual property specialists, including board-certified patent attorneys, former U.S. Patent and Trademark Office examiners, registered patent agents, engineers, designers, illustrators, all dedicated to protecting new ideas and brand identities. We're excited to have John and his team on board as a partner here. This partnership will undoubtedly bring new resources and opportunities to all of our members. John, thank you. We appreciate you. We have next levels of what we're going to be doing with this community. And as our first partner sponsor, we appreciate it. So thank you. If you could take a moment, I think I just introduced you. So maybe you have a quick tip or advice to the inventor community, and we will definitely be hearing and seeing more of you. Oh, let's just get you off of mute there. There you go.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. It's I mean, the inventor community is really, really special to me. I started my practice at a huge multinational law firm that represented corporations. It was the law firm that represented Thomas Edison and the Wright brothers with the invention of the airplane and the telephone. So all of these iconic inventions. But when I started at this firm, my work was mostly with lawyers and MBAs, and it was nothing like what I expected and what I had a passion for is the spark of ingenuity of that new idea. So I started my practice some 25 years ago and have focused exclusively on individual inventors and small startups. And it's a pleasure to be able to give back to that community. I'm the author of a book that really focuses on inventors, escaping the gray. And it talks about how a lot of times what's holding inventors back is not technical knowledge or know-how, but it's really this feeling that they're outside an industry and they stay in their comfort zone. But most industries are shaken up by outsiders. And a lot of times it is the Steve Jobs, the Jeff Bezos of this world, the individual inventors, the Elon Musk revolutionizing electric vehicles when you have Chrysler, Ford, and GM with taxpayer funding not being able to do that. So I'm a huge fan of individual inventors and small startups, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, John. We appreciate your participation with us, and we will definitely keep in touch. And thank you again. We'll see you soon. Thank you. All right, let's get to the main speakers. So, and this is funny because I talked about actually extending tax day here on National Inventor Club because that's our topic tonight. We are going to talk about, okay, so I came up with this great idea, whether it's a business, a product, whatever it is that you just came up with. And now, what do I do? Should I incorporate? Do I act as a sole proprietor? What does all this mean? S-Corp, C-Corp? Is my invention a tax write-off of my idea? I'm spending money on engineers and prototypers and patents and consultants, whatever it is, just all trying to figure out all this stuff. And that's what we're doing tonight. So Glenn, one of our premium insiders, I think he is, maybe not, but maybe he might be. But he said, boy, Brian, you have pull to do that, to extend tax day one more day? Well, guess what? On National Inventor Club, I can. So let's start off by having Alex on. Alex Englard. He is with vState Filings. So, Alex, welcome to National Inventor Club.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
Thank you. We have this idea. We are starting to spend money. I know when I first started, I kind of made a little bit of a mistake. Every invention that I had, I decided to incorporate. So I had many different corporations for each invention, and I realized when tax day came that I had to pay taxes on each one, so I stopped doing that. But Alex, welcome. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you have a new company, and your colleagues there I have known for many years, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Definitely help us with structure of corporations. But first, please start off by giving us an intro on yourself.
Sure. So basically, we are a corporate compliance and formation services company. And what we do is we specialize in corporate formations, in registered agent, in compliance, UCC filings, anything that has to do with the formation and continued compliance of that entity. And although you may think it was a mistake, I think it's a great idea to incorporate for each invention that you do, just to keep everything separate.
It sounds like more filings for you to do, but okay, if you say so. You're in charge tonight, so thank you for that. Now, you have let's put up your slides here, so we can go through some of the information that you provide us tonight.
Sure. So before I even begin with the first slide, I mean, I just wanted to say that I have tremendous amounts of respect for the inventor community. I think that the work that you do is amazing. All of it really comes from a need that you feel needs to be taken care of, done better, improve on something, but fix a problem that you find, that you see, that you feel. And starting my business and starting working with a lot of startups, I sensed, I know there's so many different hats that you have to wear. There's so many different things, trial and error that goes on, in addition to the hurdles that you have to go through. So I have tremendous amount of admiration and respect for this entire community, Brian, and thank you again for bringing me on here. I really appreciate the opportunity. Just wanted to start off really with, whenever we have, every once in a while, we have, a full gamut of services, but I just remember that when we wanted to showcase, shall we say, one of them, which was a DBA, doing business as. One of my colleagues had an idea to perhaps we can explain the concept with 7-Eleven. And part of that was having their logo and explaining the fact that, how do you have all these 7-Elevens that are independently owned, yet they all have the same name? And you have that throughout the country. So, we reached out to 7-Eleven. We wanted to use their logo. We thought it would be a nice catch. And we were surprised. They said, absolutely, we're just going to do a little background check on you. We're going to give you a limited amount of use time. But they were, amenable to it. We're a small company, not that they were getting any major advertising out of us, but, I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from that colleague, and that is that always ask. You're telling yourself no if before they do. So, in the vendor community, I know that you're trying stuff, you're hoping for certain things. Sometimes, like Brian mentioned all day in the beginning, you're out of your league or you feel like you're uncomfortable in certain areas. Just ask, just go for it. Worst thing they can do is tell you no. But if you don't, you're the one that's saying no. So I just wanted to, bring that up and, express that and really give that over. A lot of the stuff that we're going to discuss is really boring stuff, but we're going to try to make it interesting, try to make it exciting, but more importantly, there's a lot of value here. And with that, why do we want to incorporate limited liability? What does that mean? That basically means that you want to protect your personal assets, okay? When you open up an entity, so the entity is sort of that umbrella, and whatever you do within that umbrella belongs to that company. So whether it's debts or whether it's a lawsuit that's affected by the company, a product, or whatever it may be, that's the point of a company. It only affects your company. It doesn't affect your personal assets. There's something interesting that I just wanted to add to that, and that is that some people think they have liability insurance, okay? Liability insurance doesn't protect you. Liability insurance protects the business assets, not your personal assets. The entity protects your personal assets, okay? Moving on to credibility, you're not a one-man show. I am a company. I'm not calling as an individual. It could be I have one employee. It could be I have 50 employees. No one knows. But you're a company. You're not an individual. There are advantages to anonymity. Whether it's you don't want the junk mail, that's the easiest one. But a company, and depending on which state you're in, will afford you that. It would depend on whether different ways to do that, whether depending on the state also. Some states require personal information, some don't. We can get that later. Also, another advantage to incorporating is transfer of ownership. You want to sell your company. So, instead of having to go through your file cabinet and say, oh yeah, I'll sell this piece, I'll sell that, I'll sell this. You're selling their entity. Here it is. This is what I'm selling. You have the assets, you have the liabilities. It's clearly marked when you sell an entity. Access to capital, which is very important. When you have an entity, you can sell shares, you can raise capital. And obviously tax benefits, there's the lower corporate tax in addition to the deductions that you can take as an entity versus an individual.
Thank you, Alex. Before we go on, just so everybody's aware, Alex is going to talk to us about the incorporation, the structure, the business structure, and then the second half of this, as our National Inventor Club Tax Day, the official tax day of NIC, we have Adam and Jackie Williams. They're from Pennywise Tax Strategies, and they're going to talk to us about what actually we can write off. But this is interesting to find out why we should incorporate, that we can protect ourselves through the business, and maybe it's our invention, our product. Just if anything happens, we know that we're protected and we have a chance to sell our shares, sell our companies. It sounds like it's much more organized for us, Alex.
Absolutely. If we move on to the next slide, that's something I do.
I could do that for us.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, so there are certain things that you should know beforehand before you start the incorporation process, and this has happened many, many times. People jump to either get a website or incorporate, and they make a mistake. So for starters, you always want to make sure that the name that you want is available before you go out and buy a website or buy a name that may not be available. In addition to the state, make sure the name is available. Now, there are some people say, well, I live in New York, I'll incorporate in New York. That's not always the best way to go because of protections, case law, and other reasons why you should perhaps form an entity in a different state. Lots of people like Delaware, and I'm sure the statistics will follow that at least 70 to 80% of the largest companies, the Fortune 500 companies, the companies that are on the stock market, are all formed in Delaware. They have very favorable case law. It's not for everyone, but some people like it, especially anybody that wants to go raise funds, wants to eventually go on IPO. Those are definitely one of the states to look into. Entity type, we'll discuss specifically. There are LLCs, there's S-Corp, C-Corp, LLPs, and PLLCs and PCs. Cost is definitely something to be concerned about, whether it's initially or annually. Some states are very expensive. California charges $800 a year just to have your entity open. Take a look at New York, charges $9 every 2 years. So that's something to be mindful of. EIN is something that you need. That's a tax ID, comes in different names, employee identification number, but that's something that you must have in order to open up a bank account. S-election is something we'll discuss on the next slide. CTA is an interesting new little regulation that was put out by the FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Network, and that basically is that they want to know, CTA is they want to know who the beneficial owners are of the entity, who owns this, who's behind it. In a lot of states, it's not public information. It's becoming less and less the states that offer anonymity. But for instance, Delaware and New York are still ones that offer that. So BOI filing or CTA, depending on what you want to call it, that's a new regulation. It's a requirement. We'll go through it. Also, publishing is something that is required in certain states for certain type of entities. Pennsylvania, New York requires it for LLCs. Those are additionally some of the things to be concerned about.
And when you're saying publishing, those are those little advertisements in the newspaper or somewhere.
That no one reads,
right?
No one reads, it takes up space, and they're tiny, and they cost a fortune in some locales, yes. So other than myself and a handful of others who may perhaps have their entity listed, yeah, no one looks at them. But yes, that's what we're referring to exactly.
Okay.
Here's a major controversy and perhaps a misunderstanding. C-Corp, S-Corp. So before I even get to that, there's an entity called a corporation, okay? Now, every corporation in America is a C-Corp. That's the way it starts off. S-Corp is an election that the Congress passed and the IRS adopted, and basically, it's an election to be taxed like an S-Corp. And what that does is it reduces the taxes that are owed in a major way. I'll go through a little bit of the C-Corp, the regular corporation, and then I'll do a little comparison to an S-Corp. Both the C-Corp and S-Corp are governed by shares. They have shareholders, just like any stock, you're a shareholder. When you have enough shareholders, you can appoint a board member. A board member will appoint management, which will run the day-to-day operations of the company. So that's C-Corp and S-Corp basically have the same thing. Here's the fun part. For a C-Corp, when the money comes in to the company and after all the deductions are taken and they earn a profit, that profit is taxed. Now, when the company goes ahead and distributes that money to their shareholders, they're taxed again. And that's double taxation on the same money that came in. And that was definitely a burden on every corporation in America. When they passed the S-Corp election, what it did was the money, the profits were no longer taxed at the corporate level. It created a pass-through, which means that it went to the personal tax return of each individual. Now, what that did was it allowed the individual on their own personal return to recognize the income, recognize the losses, and then recognize the deductions, which basically eliminated one of the corporate taxes straight up. Now, there are limitations to an S-Corp, and that is that it's restricted shareholders. You can only have 100 shareholders versus a corporation, a regular corporation can have unlimited shareholders. I mean, we know the stocks, you look at how many shares are outstanding, they have hundreds of millions. Now, also, there's restricted ownership for an S-Corp. An S-Corp can only be owned by a U.S. citizen versus a C-Corp or a regular corporation that can have any nationality, mostly it could be foreign, whoever it may be, but there aren't any restrictions on that. So those are such important aspects of if you're going to use a corporation versus an LLC. Now, there are also different, I'm not going to go into it because I'm not licensed as an accountant to do it, but there are significant differences in an LLC versus a corp. With regard to different industries may have different tax benefits to use a corporation versus an LLC, and the double taxation might be worth it. So, but the C-Corp, which is the regular corporation, is primarily used for very large corporations. And most smaller businesses, and I've owned a few myself, are most likely going to be S-Corps.
And when you're mentioning the tax liabilities and the tax questions, we have Jackie and Adam Williams from Pennywise Tax Strategies that'll be on to answer some of those questions.
Great. I hope I can slide some in there as well. The next entity is an LLC, limited liability company. It's probably one of the most popular entity types and vehicles used today. It's just easy to use. It also acts like a pass-through entity, although it can be taxed as an S-Corp as well. I don't want to get too complicated here, but you can elect to be taxed as an S-Corp or as a partnership. But for the most part, it's a pass-through entity. It acts like an S-Corp without having to do the election. There are unlimited amounts of members that you can have. Now, an LLC, I know I'm getting a little technical here, is governed by members and managers versus shareholders. And members are owners, managers are appointed. So managers don't necessarily have to have ownership, but they can be owners as well. Now, the way it sounds is probably the way it is. There's member managed and manager managed. So you can have managers that will manage the company, or you can have the owners that are going to manage the company themselves. Now, again, like I said, the manager can also be an owner, but it doesn't have to be. And lastly is what we call an operating agreement. An operating agreement is basically the Bible for the LLC. How much did you contribute? What the rules are? When can I sell? Who can I sell to? Can we take on debt? All of that is listed in the operating agreement and then some. So that's really something that is worthwhile to invest in, and typically an attorney will write that up depending on the situation. Now, there are times that if it's a single member, like let's say I just decide that I'm going to open up an LLC because I'd like to lease an office and I want to have a separate entity just for that. So do I need an operating agreement? It's really my right hand telling my left hand what to do. So sometimes the banks require it, sometimes they don't. So that's totally up to you. But when you have one or more partners, especially when there's money involved, you'd like to have something in writing. So that's the way an LLC works, and it's based off of an operating agreement. Like I said, these are very technical, but they're so important because, one mistake, whether it's a paragraph that's omitted or the wrong thing is kept into an operating agreement and you find one on the internet, let's just say, which most people can, you're going to, it could be costly in the long run. So whatever you do, I strongly suggest, and that's really heading into my closing part, is, get good legal advice. You're starting a business, start it off right, get the foundation the way it should be. I know it's going to cost more money, but sometimes it's just not worth it to cheap out on certain things. Things are, in the beginning, everything's expensive. Everything is coming out of your pocket. You have no revenue, but it doesn't make it, in the long run, if you're going to have a successful company, you want it to have it with as least aggravation as possible by finding a good attorney, by accepting the fact that it's going to cost money. It's definitely worth it. Also, finances, get a good accountant. I mean, I'm sure that we'll have Jackie as well as her partner go through, but there are deductions that you can take. It's important to keep good books. I know most people are not business people that are doing these inventions that are starting things for the most part. And also, aside from the fact whether they are, whether they aren't, you have so many different things going on. You have so many different hats. It could be you still have a full-time job, and this is something that you're doing because it's a hobby or you think it's a great idea. But nonetheless, you just got to always keep an eye on that. It's the worst thing to get that notice from the IRS, you missed this, whether it's sales tax or any other corporate tax. Secondly, or thirdly, I should say, the future growth. I think it's really important that you set yourself up and have the ability to grow. Don't pigeonhole yourself to specific structures or specific items. You should be able to have the ability. Don't shortchange yourself and hope that you grow. Annuals is something that is really, really important and sometimes overlooked. Every year in the state, there's a requirement to file some sort of annual report. It could be money. It could be that they want updated information. It could be they want to know what the revenue was. But sometimes it's a few bucks, sometimes it's more expensive. But I think it's really important. A lot of people, they don't even realize that it's due. And every state, of course, has a different date for that. But, certain states like Delaware has March 1st for corporations, June 1st for LLCs. There are some states that have it on the anniversary month, the month before the anniversary. So it's 11 months in. I think it's really important when you set up your company, the company that you set it up with, make sure to be advised of when those dates are going to occur so that you don't miss it and incur late fees, taxes, and penalties as well as interest on that as well. So that's really something that's important. And circling back to beneficial ownership, that's a new regulation. Anyone that formed an entity before 2024 has until the end of 2024 to file. What that is, they want to know who owns the company. They want to know a list of anybody that owns more than 25%, or someone I call directs traffic. You can have a CFO, you can have a CEO. He might not be an owner, he might be a hired hand. You can have in-house counsel. All those people are people that make decisions that affect the company, and they're included in that BOI filing, beneficial ownership filing. They're claiming serious penalties for not doing it, anywhere from 2 years in jail to fines in the thousands of dollars. So if you did file in 24, you only have 90 days to do it. So please make sure to do it as soon as possible so that you don't have any issues later on. Lastly, I don't think it's, I wrote down scams. I think that it's just good practice just to be mindful of what you're opening. Email-wise, those good old-fashioned phishing tricks. And also, sometimes you get a mailer, and we get it all the time. Alex, could you take a look at this? Did I do this? Do I need to do this? A lot of times you get these companies that are soliciting, whether it's for these public posters or whether it's for good standing certificates. None of that's required. They're just looking to grow revenue and, sucker you in if not. That's, for the most part, my presentation.
Thank you, Alex.
You guys have been amazing,
Well, your information is extremely helpful. Usually we end our meetings at the top of the hour in about 10 minutes or so. But you know what? These type of somebody like yourself to come on, and for us at any time that we decide, or a future inventor, entrepreneur, startup, whatever, comes and references this presentation that you gave, this is going to help us. So thank you. I know that you just started your company with your partners, vState Filings. How can we get in touch with you, Alex?
vstatefilings.com. And just to give you a little bit more background, I started this company in 2007. We've had a few iterations from LLC's Publishing Corp to Interstate Filings. And just in the last 2 months, I recently reacquainted myself, or actually just took the relationship I had with one of my partners for the last 30 years and did a strategic partnership. We changed the name to vState Filings and joined a great group of guys of great business minds taking this company further. It's been my pleasure. I'm looking always to help. Happy to chat with anybody that has any questions. That's one of the things that I enjoy about this, getting to speak to people, answering questions and helping guide them.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Now we have the next part with Adam and Jacqueline, and we might go a little bit past the hour here. So we know that we have the after meeting networking. So we will do it as soon as the meeting's done. Hopefully we'll still have some people that stay up, but this was well worth it. Alex, we appreciate it. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. All right, let's have Jackie and Adam. Hello, welcome to National Inventor Club. You've been behind in the studio here in the green room for quite some time, but you're very important to us. We are spending money on our inventions. We are working on prototypes and patent attorneys and engineers and memberships and everything else that's going on. So if you can please introduce yourselves and let's get right into it. I know that there are people that are excited and waiting to hear what we can write off as inventors.
That is, I don't believe for a second that people are excited to hear from the tax people. We're gonna
Well,
do
you're not
this.
the tax man. You're the ones that help us, right? So Adam, you're an attorney and Jackie is a CPA, and you're both related. I see the same last name.
Yep. We're about 2 hours apart right now, but we've been married for 17 years. It'll be 17 years. It'll be 17
Good job.
All right. Are my slides showing up here?
I'm going to put that right up here for us.
There we go. Cool. So I do want to jump into this, and I do want to compress this a little bit from how we normally do it, just given the time that it is right now. Like the last presenter, super boring topic. We try and make this entertaining and educational. And in fact, we're going to have a URL and a QR code later so that people can download some free resources on this, because we're not going to be able to cover everything that we want to in this. So it's great to be here on your official tax day. I think that was a brilliant play on that. And I'll tell you a little bit later on about why Jackie and I started this business, but she's the CPA. I'm a lawyer. I also have my MBA. I went to college for 7.5 years. I've taken intro to accounting 3 times. And the third time that I took it, I got a B-. So I married into that brilliance. And if there's one thing I love more than lawyer jokes, it's tax and accounting jokes. Love the one about learning about parallelograms in high school. We have a 7th grader who's learning geometry right now. And, you know, it's our job to teach him about taxes. So we are targeting this towards inventors because that's our audience today. So if you have questions about accounting, taxes, bookkeeping, if you're like me and you're not a numbers person, we're going to try and explain this to you as efficiently as possible. And if you're interested in avoiding mistakes now so that you don't have to deal with them in the future. So you don't want some joint venture, some licensing arrangement, some acquisition, whatever, to get jammed up because your tax house isn't in order. That's why we're here today. So Jackie, the CPA, give us the basics of accounting.
Okay, so obviously, I'm sure you've heard revenue is what you want to come in, right? You have revenue, but generally you need expenses to generate the revenue. So what we have revenue, less expenses gets us the profit. And in order to make more money, we either need to increase our revenue or decrease our expenses to get more profit. The sad part is that taxes, in most cases, aren't in that expenses number. They're after the fact. So they're going to eat into your profit. So let's get ready to not have any surprises.
So that's, again, we're starting at absolute base level here. So let's start adding layers to this.
Yeah. So to continue into accounting 101, there are basic financial statements, right? So what we just talked about is the heart of the income statement, otherwise known as your profit and loss statement. So those are used interchangeably. If you hear people say that or P&L, that's your income statement. And then the other normally big statement is the third bullet there. That's your balance sheet. That's going to show your financial position at any point in time. Assets minus liabilities equals your equity. And so that is going to show your financial position. And the cash flow statement normally is the dance between the two, the bridge between the two. If you have an income statement on accrual, that's getting into like further down the line.
Yeah,
but
let's skip ahead.
yeah. Anyway, that's important because even if you have, you need to know how much cash you have so that you can cover your expenses. So when the spark hits you, what do you do? How are you going to account for it? Can you do it on your own? When do you need an accountant? And what kind of accountant do you need and when? We're going to go over that.
So this is my favorite slide. Oh man, my beautiful formatting on this one didn't come through. Jackie and I literally spent way too much time formatting this slide. But what a lot of people don't understand about accountants is they're not all the same, right? They're not all as beautiful and charming as Jackie is, but they also do different things. So you will see in business groups, hey, I need a recommendation for an accountant. And unless the person answering that question says, well, what type of accountant are you looking for? They're probably going to give you bad advice. So we're going to break down these 5 different categories today of what these different types of accountants do so that you have a little better understanding of what your needs are. And this is built as a pyramid. So we start with the first layer of the bookkeeper. Your next level is payroll. Your next level after that is tax prep, which we're all familiar with after yesterday. There's a layer of what are called managerial accountants, and we'll explain that briefly. And then on the top there, you have your tax strategist, which again, my formatting kind of fell apart here. So I think at this point, it's probably worth taking a second just to tell you about us and this business. So I am a lawyer. I own a law firm. We help small businesses and entrepreneurs. We are based in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is literally the least entrepreneurial city in America. Like they track those statistics. And if you leave the front door of our office and go 2 blocks east, it's the poorest zip code in America. But we are running a multi-million-dollar law firm that, like John Ribsey, will be on the Inc. 5000 list later this year. We were just on the Inc. Regionals. John and I are friends. He's a fantastic patent attorney. We refer all of our clients to him for that. I didn't even think it was possible for law firms to make the Inc. 5000 list. And then I saw John and a couple other friends of mine do that, and they gave me the belief. So our business is really, really successful. It provides a wonderful, fantastic living for me and Jackie. But here's what happened recently, and this was this was about 2 years ago, is our tax preparer, again, on the layer of accountants there, he filed our taxes and he said, what do you think you're going to make next year? And I told him the number, and it was a significant number in the 7 figures. And his only response was, wow, that's great. Here's the quarterly tax payments that you should make to the IRS. And if I had taken his advice without questioning it and without implementing some of the strategies that we're going to teach you here, we would have ended up sending $700,000 to the IRS before tax day. Those were our estimates on the income tax we had to pay. By implementing these strategies and doing some really cool stuff that we're not even going to talk about today, like I got to buy a race car, we reduced our bill to $450,000. So we saved $250,000 in 1 year doing some of this stuff and frankly, not getting super aggressive with it. So a lot of accountants will tell you when you make money, congratulations, the price you pay for your success and your income is you have a higher tax bill. We don't believe that. I am here to help defund the IRS. Jackie's here to help put more money in the pockets of entrepreneurs, but we're both doing it the same way. Now, part of the reason that our firm is successful is because in 2019, Jackie quit her job and came and worked with us. So Jackie, give us a little bit of your background so they understand who's teaching them today.
Sure. So I started my career at a Big Four accounting firm in Pennsylvania, and I did actually financial statement audits for big companies, for publicly traded companies, and went to work on accounting policy in a big bank. So I'm familiar with taking positions on policy and documenting the heck out of it. And that is why I have found a lot of passion in what I do in terms of tax strategy. But I wasn't always a tax strategist, and I always wasn't playing in the strategy. And that will kind of lead into our next slide of the first type of bookkeeper, or first type of accountant, which is bookkeeper.
So we're back to our pyramid and building the layers. If you don't have a bookkeeper, you can ignore everything else that we're going to teach you today. This is where you need to start. Go ahead.
Right. So if you're just starting out, if you literally you aren't investing that much, you could probably do it in a spreadsheet yourself. Keep it simple, keep it timely, make sure you're putting everything in a spreadsheet, keep it separate, put it in a bank account, and keep all of your receipts. And then when you start to realize you could be doing better things in your business, or you're not doing any of those things, it's probably best to hire a bookkeeper. And this bookkeeper, the only thing they're going to do is track your historical stuff. This is what financial accountants do. These are the people that put together financial statements. They track your information. They're historical, but it's good to have good historical information. But they're not going to help you with the taxes. We'll get into more people from there.
And Jackie and I are firm believers in hiring experts to do things for you. Bookkeeping is a great example of that. To hire a competent bookkeeper who, when you get to the level where you've got QuickBooks or some other accounting software, these people are experts at setting that up, and they're experts at maintaining it. And they can do it so much faster and so much better than you can at, frankly, really, really, really low rates that you could go out and be improving your inventions or inventing new stuff for growing your business.
And we're talking about also from the beginning, where we're actually just starting off and starting to spend money out of our pockets, whether it's through a corporation or out of our own pockets, just to keep track of the activity of what we're spending on.
Yes, and any of us who have started a business, because I'm a quick start, right? We're going back March 31st, flipping through the bank accounts, trying to figure out where we spent money for these things. We're telling you up front, start tracking this stuff properly. And we're going to talk on a later slide about some of the common deductions, because we know for a lot of new businesses, they've got more expenses than they have revenue. They're showing losses in the beginning, and there's advantages to that. So the next layer of the pyramid, Jackie, your payroll provider. Go for it.
Right. So your bookkeeper is not necessarily going to do your payroll. And frankly, I would recommend outsourcing it to a payroll specialist. They'll be on top of all the laws. You'll make sure that your tax returns are handled correctly. So look for a payroll accountant when you start to need payroll services.
Most of the time, as we're just starting off, where there's many inventors, I see them on here that are just starting off. Most likely, if we're going to hire some help, we may not necessarily hire them within our company. We may outsource or freelance.
So we're going to share two examples later of why you may want to put yourself on payroll. And there's one other really good strategy to help keep money in the family and save money on taxes. All right.
Going back to that, if you are going to outsource it, and if you aren't going through an agency, so you need to 1099 these folks, I would still look into a payroll type provider, because or services like Gusto, for example, you can 1099 your contractors through there, pay them through there, and 1099 them through there, so you don't have that headache.
We pay a lot of people through our payroll software, and then it automatically sends them the 1099s, which is a compliance thing. So that's really great. Okay, third layer of accountants. We're getting more complex. Is your tax preparer. And I think this is what most people think of when they think of an accountant. Who files my taxes for me? Here's the problem with tax preparers. Most of them are CPAs. Their job is to put the right answer on a piece of paper and file it with the government. This is local, state, federal. The P in certified public accountant, CPA, it stands for public, meaning their obligation is to protect the public from you as the business owner, to make sure the IRS gets the answers that are favorable to the IRS to protect the public. So your tax preparer is typically not an advocate for you. Instead, they're filling out the forms to get the right answer and not necessarily the best answer. So two things I want to cover on this slide. The first thing is, I saw there was a question on one of the live streams about sales tax. If you're selling physical products, or in some cases digital products, the easiest way to handle sales tax if you're selling online is to use some sort of, there we go. So the question popped up there. Use some sort of e-commerce platform that handles the tax compliance for you. It used to be only if you were located in a physical state would you have to collect and pay sales tax. they changed that law because Amazon had such an unfair advantage. That's only a couple of years old. So if you're using a platform that you're selling online, let them handle the sales tax for you, or work with a tax preparer who can handle your sales tax obligations. But basically, any state into which you're selling, you may need to think about filing sales tax. But sales tax is the responsibility of the retailer. So whoever is ultimately selling it to the consumer. So if you wholesale and you sell to a retailer who then sells to the consumer, it's their problem. They got to worry about it. So see,
But if we have our own website, Adam, and we're selling direct, most of the time we have PayPal merchant or Stripe merchant, and it has automatic ways for them to collect the sales tax, but that's on us.
And you'll have to remit it. But something like Shopify, I think, will actually do some of the returns for you. So if you're looking at selling physical products, and Jackie started her career in a Big Four firm, so did I, and I worked in the state and local tax group. So we worried about Nexus in all these different states, it's called. So yeah, look into software. If you're selling direct to consumer, look for software or a service that will handle that for you. Okay, second thing on tax prep. If you filed your taxes yesterday, or if you filed or if you're on extension but you have your 2022 taxes filed, I want you to do me a favor after this presentation. If you've got your notebook out, write this down. Go find your Form 1040. This is your individual income tax return. And on page 2, right towards the top, there's line 24. That is your total tax. That's how much tax you paid to the federal government. It's not the check that you wrote on April 15th, because you may have had estimates and quarterlies and withholding that you paid throughout the year. But I want you to look at line 24, because chances are if you make any real amount of money, you look at that line and you're immediately going to want to call my tax strategy business. So do that favor for me after this so you have an understanding of exactly how much tax you pay. Okay, managerial accountants, I want to go over quickly just because we don't have a ton of time. These aren't tax forms. These aren't compliance things. This is helping you run your business. Your managerial accountant, your CFO, can help you make budgets, can help you make projections, can help run a report of variance between here's what we budgeted and planned and here's what actually happened. They can track KPIs or key performance indicators for your employees. So in our law firm, we track billable hours. In the tax strategy business, we track leads and sales consultations. Our controller, who's our managerial accountant, helps us with that, with Jackie's help. They can help with goal setting. They can help with modeling. So if you're calculating your cost of goods for an item that you're going to sell, a managerial accountant can help with that. Or you may be doing a lot of that on your own if you really like spreadsheets. Your managerial accountant should be able to give you an estimate of how much money you'll make this year. It's going to change. It's not going to be accurate, but at least they should be helping you go through that thought process of what you expect your revenue to be and what you expect your expenses to be. All right, that's it on managerial accountants. So our slide on what you can write off, Jackie, let's run through some of these things. So doesn't matter the stage of business you are, you got an invention. What's the rule and what type of stuff can we deduct on our taxes to reduce our income?
Right. So you can write off business expenses, and business expenses are defined as anything that is deemed ordinary and necessary in the tax code. Now, there's a lot of cases back and forth about what exactly those terms mean, but
there's also a lot of really bad advice on the internet about what those words mean.
So we could get into that, but basically, if you can demonstrate that you're using it in a reasonable way to support the building of your business, it's an ordinary and necessary expense to move forward, it makes sense. So we're talking about any of your marketing costs, any shipping, any, payments that are made to your employees or you're made to contractors. This includes the experts that Alex was telling you to hire. Those are all deductible. So if you ever think about, oh my gosh, I don't know, you're going to be able to deduct it. And it's okay to go into a loss position on your taxes. So that's a whole nother discussion.
So you're talking, Jackie, you're talking patent filings, maintenance fees,
Yes. All of,
marketing, advertising for, let's say we're advertising on Amazon or Google AdWords,
absolutely.
engineers, designers, whatever it is, people that whatever you're putting money in towards, whether you're incorporated or you're not incorporated, to keep track of all your expenses, because there are different ways of filing.
Yes. Yes. So, and now just because you can write it off doesn't mean they're all 100%. Like your meals, for example, if you have certain meals, in certain cases, it can be deducted at 50%. In some cases, it's 100%. We can get into nuances of every different type. This slide shows some examples, but also, you know, if you belong to organizations to learn more, your continuing education, anything that is helping you move forward, if you have you can clearly demonstrate that it has a business purpose.
And,
Well,
and Jackie also, and Adam, many people are either working from home. This is a side hustle, as somebody mentioned earlier. It's something that we want to take as our idea and possibly convert into our full-time job at some point. But a lot of us are working from home. So that also, I see you have rent. So we're going to get into
the home office. So let's jump ahead just for the sake of time here.
Excellent.
So in order to know whether you have a tax strat, let me skip. I went there.
What happened there?
I'm just skipping it. This was one of our vendors bought this as a gift, and they sent a photographer and paints and brushes, and Jackie and I and our kids it was fun. Anyway.
Nice.
Okay. So the question is, well, maybe I have a tax strategist. I've got my tax guy, right? Here are the questions to ask. Are you asking for tax strategy help? Are you asking for strategies to implement? Do you meet with this person regularly? If you're meeting with them between January 1st and April 15th, and that's it, you probably don't have a tax strategist. If they talk about their favorite strategies, mine is the Augusta rule, which is really fun because of the Masters golf tournament that just happened. It's in the free guide that we're going to give out. It's not in this slide deck, but that's my favorite. If they talk about red flags for certain things, you probably don't have a tax strategist. And if they talk about having the right answers instead of the best answers, you probably just have a tax preparer, not a tax strategist. If you have lots of documentation, you probably have a good strategist on your side. So we've got our business that helps business owners account for expenses properly to reduce their tax bill and keep more of the money that they already make. Pennywise, which is a relatively new business, we've already helped business owners either save or get as refunds $75 million. And when we worked at Big Four accounting firms, that could be one client that gets $75 million. This business, these are mom and pop small businesses, single shareholder type businesses that we're putting this money back into their pockets to do whatever they want to.
Okay. All right.
All right. So we talked a little bit earlier. We talked about entity selection. I'm going to oversimplify this as much as possible because it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. But if you are a sole proprietor, if you're not incorporated and you have an adjusted gross income of about $250,000, you will pay $45,558 in taxes at the federal level. If you're properly set up as an LLC, which makes the S-Corp election, which we talked about earlier, and you put yourself on salary, you put yourself on payroll, you will reduce your tax bill to $33,744. So your choice of entity, if properly structured, could save you almost $12,000 a year. Now, not everybody's going to run with these numbers and it's not going to work for everybody, but this is an example of how impactful that one decision can be. How are you going to set up your entity and what is the tax selection that you're going to make? In an instance like this, it can save you $12,000. So
and don't just set it and forget it. This is something to revisit too as you grow.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, Jackie, can you quickly go through business travel? Because this is a really fun way to combine ordinary and necessary business expenses with stuff we want to do as business owners.
Right. So kind of just at a high level, basically any business travel, if you're going right to and from the trip, all of that's write offable, right? So if you're going to you're going right to the conference and not doing anything else. But there are some benefits that if you extended your trip, if you organize it the right way, you can get a little bit of, personal R&R time in there with it. And there's also things to think of, other reasons to travel that could work for this. So if there are, if there's not, maybe it's not a conference you have to be at, but maybe it's something that will improve your customer experience or something, and you go learn how to become a better customer facing you and your sales team or something. Those are all things that if you can document the business purpose, get a little more creative with your travel.
So in this example, we use the example of seminars. We do a lot of seminars. So like if you had a seminar that was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is days 6 through 8, in this example, you could actually leave on a Friday morning and stay until the following Tuesday afternoon, 12 days later. The only work days are that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you can write off your flights, hotel, meals, and other incidentals for the entire trip.
All right, this is interesting.
Yeah.
This is super cool. And again, in the guide that we have, Bill Gates uses this strategy for what he calls think weeks, which is brilliant for inventors. He flies out to some remote cabin, invents the internet, and writes off the whole trip, right? Now there's documentation that you got to do and a lot of that stuff, but it's a way to, we go to seminars in Orlando. Well, we usually tack on a Disney trip because our 6-year-old thinks she's a princess, right?
Okay.
So we're able to deduct most of that trip for somewhere that we were going anyway because of the business.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can. Okay,
Yeah, when we
go
say
ahead.
most, there's obviously things
Yeah.
to make it a little more. And international travel, as long as business is 75%, you could do it that way too. But
Okay, so let's talk about your home office. If you are a sole proprietor, you can deduct expenses for your home office, and you use this Form 8829 to do that. And if you go and Google IRS Form 8829, it's pretty self-explanatory. Don't file it on your own, but you'll at least see the questions that they ask. If you are an S corporation, which many of our clients are LLCs who make an S corporation election. We do actually work with some C corporations too, because they're not just for massive companies. There can be some good strategies for some 7-figure earners, for example. If you are an S corporation, if you have a tax preparer who doesn't understand tax strategy, that person will tell you you cannot take a home office deduction if you're an S corporation. And that person is technically correct, but they are creatively inadequate because there's what's called a home office reimbursement. So I am sitting in my home office right now, and there's a certain square footage of this room in our entire house that I can write off that, or I can get reimbursed. Adam Williams can get reimbursed from the company for my mortgage interest or rent, real estate taxes, insurance, repairs, maintenance, utilities. Our domestic staff in our home is a 6-figure expense to us every year. And a portion of that, the business will reimburse me for. And that's an expense to the business. So that can be so even if it's not a direct deduction, we can take some of those expenses and the business can reimburse me for it, which becomes a deduction. There's a lot of calculations that you can do on this. It's a fraction where your area for your business is divided by the total area of the home, but you deduct things like hallways and bathrooms and mechanical rooms and stuff like that. So you can really kind of inflate that number a little bit, or you can oversimplify it. And the IRS allows you to just say, hey, take your square footage and $5 per square foot, and that's your deduction if you wanted to do it that way.
If I could just pause for 1 second, because there are some people that are asking, just so you know, as soon as the meeting is done, we will move into the after meeting networking. So if you're watching, yes, if you're in the app, you'll see that we're done, and then we'll let you know to go into the after meeting networking link. And Adam and Jackie, you'll be able to join us if you have a few minutes. That would be great.
We'll do what we can there. Okay,
Great.
so let me skip ahead and then we'll come back to this. For the people that do have to bounce out of here, we've got a guide. It's 7 strategies to take to your tax preparer. Hit the QR code or go to pennywise.tax/save. Put in your email address. We will send this to you. Go and meet with your accountant and show them, hey, can I use any of these strategies? And one of 2 things will happen. And either case, you send me a fruit basket, right? Either they say, oh yeah, I already do all of this stuff for you. And what I have just done for you, what Jackie and I have just done, is showed that you have a good tax preparer, tax strategist. You're welcome. Or you're going to show them this guide and they're going to go, oh, no, 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 none of this applies to you. This will raise red flags. None of this is right. We can't do any of that. In which case you're going to want to send us a fruit basket and thank us because we just showed you that your accountant is ruining your life.
Okay.
So Pennywise.tax/save free guide. All right. Now let's talk about R&D expenses because this is super, super important for what you guys are doing. There are two pieces to research and development and the tax benefits to it. Okay. It's kind of a hot topic right now too, because there's some pending legislation that will change this. There are, and I'm going to oversimplify it just for the sake of time. If you spend money inventing your thing on experimentation, on prototyping, on figuring out whether the thing is going to work, the IRS currently right now says you can't write all that off in 1 year. They say you have to spread it out over 5 years, which sucks. But it used to be 1 year and they may be bringing that back. So there's some pending legislation and there's a lot of really big companies that care very much about that. So if that law changes, it may actually be retroactive, which would help you for 2023 if you incurred expenses too. But we're keeping a close eye on this and updating our list about it because that'll be a big deal. If you're incurring expenses now, you want to be able to take those losses now.
Okay.
But there's another benefit for research and development that's a tax credit. This is not a deduction. A deduction reduces your income, which eventually reduces your tax bill. A credit directly reduces your tax bill. So every dollar of a credit that you get, that's $1 less in taxes that you have to pay. And there's a research and development credit that Jackie's going to talk about that actually allows you to look back a year. So if you had income last year and you get the credit this year, you can offset it. Or you can get the credit now and use it against your taxes for the next 20 years. So if you're a long way off from profitability and positive cash flow, this is really important. You know what I'm going to do, Jackie, just because it's almost 9:30. I'm going to leave this slide up here. I know everybody wants to get to the networking, but basically if you spend a whole bunch of money on researching and trying to figure out your product, you can claim this credit. Got it?
Yeah.
Great info. There's a lot of people commenting here. Great information. Thank you for all this. This is great. Even John and people are kind of calling people out to take this information away. And what's great is that it'll be recorded. People can always listen to this, and as they're building their business and before tax season or tax day next time, they'll be able to.
You should be planning next year's taxes right now. Like literally, you should have started at 1 o'clock this morning.
Okay. Any final words of wisdom here for our audience?
You know, the last one I had on there is if you've got kids, you can actually put them on payroll, and that's a picture of me and my son. My son's on payroll. He works for the firm. He doesn't pay income tax because he makes so little, but it's a deduction to the business.
And that is even higher now that you can pay because that's last year's number.
Yeah. So you can pay your kid almost $14,000 tax free every year.
That's great.
Assuming you follow the rules. So
they have to do something. You have to have a job description, but yes, you can put them on payroll.
Sean asked for the QR code. It's pennywise.tax/save, or there's the QR code, or message us or reach out through Brian. Brian's been really accommodating of us. And definitely wants to see you guys succeed, because honestly, the more money you save on your taxes and the better you document your expenses, the more money you have to grow your businesses.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
All right. So you've seen it all, right? People have been coming to you all these years. Jackie, you've seen plenty of businesses, and Adam, you're on the attorney side. Just quickly, some final words of wisdom from both of you to help us. We're at all different stages of our idea. Some of us are just starting off. Some of us are in the middle. Some of us are building our business, and we are getting into a little bit heavier of thinking about how we're going to deduct things and what's important to file and not file. So quickly, some words of wisdom. We'd greatly appreciate it. And all the information you provided is amazing. In the app, there's people that are replying and responding, and in multiple social media channels. I know you see some of them on here, but thank you for what you do.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Quickly, some final words of wisdom.
So my Jackie's, I might take her, so I want to go first. I call it stepping on the scale. Know your numbers. Once a month, sit down and look at how last month went. Even if you aren't generating revenue, at least have an idea of the amount that you're spending and what your expenses are. So step on the scale and know your numbers. And then my second one is hire experts, because you can move so much faster. But they know that because they're working with you.
Thank you. And Jackie?
Yeah, I would hire experts, and I'd echo everything that Adam said. But I also would tell you not to get comfortable. As you're growing, start like being curious about what you should be doing next. It's not, don't set it and forget it. And also just ask the question, is there a way that this could be deductible or not? And if you are choosing the deduction, make sure that you can support it, or, look for opportunities for credits too, because they're out there.
Thank you so much. We have the QR code. We're going to have the information in the archives here with your information. So thank you for both joining us on National Inventor Club. This is tremendous. And I appreciate you also taking the time the day after tax season. I know you're not even home right now, Jackie. You're on the road filing and whatever you have to do, and you stopped to be able to give this information provided to us, National Inventor Club. And Adam is taking care of everything at home. Trust me, he's got it. So thank you. I'll leave that between both of you, but we appreciate it, and we will keep in touch. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That was really interesting. Wow. We just extended tax day by almost 2 days on National Inventor Club. Unbelievable information from corporations to how to file and what to file and what's a write-off and what's not. This is what we're talking about. This is the information that we bring on National Inventor Club for you, no matter what stage your invention is in, or business, or whatever it is you're doing. We're happy that you joined us today. Thank you, everybody. Keep moving your ideas forward. Thank you. Good night from National Inventor Club. And by the way, you can go on the Inventor Smart Community app, or you might have received an email for the after meeting networking that will start right now. We'll see you inside. Thank you. We'll see you again soon.